we as human beings can heal at a much, much deeper level than we ever believed.
Before we dive into this week's episode, let's talk about a brand we both genuinely love, Cytoplan. You've probably heard us mention them before, and that's because their supplements are next level.
Yes, Cytoplan has been part of my routine for a while now. They just get it when it comes to health. Their whole approach is rooted in science and totally in tune with nature.
Exactly. Their formulas are bioeffective, which basically means the nutrients are in forms your body actually recognizes and uses properly and at the appropriate levels. Cytoplan is used and trusted by health practitioners across the country. Their formulas are developed by nutritional therapists and backed by over 3 decades of clinical insight. You really can feel the quality when you take them.
Plus, it's not just about what's in the bottle, it's the mission behind it too. Cytoplan is 100% owned by a charitable foundation, which means everything they do is about helping people live well for longer. It's not about trends or quick fixes, it's about real, lasting health.
That is so wonderful to know. And whether it's our energy, perimenopause, menopause itself, sleep, immunity, or just staying on top of your health, they've got you covered. You can also get a free health questionnaire and a consultation by ringing the helpline.
So if you're ready to take ownership of your health, check out Cytoplan, powered by nature, proven by science, and rooted in purpose. We'll pop the link and an exclusive 15% discount code in the show notes. Hello, I'm Caramellas.
Hello there, I'm Dr. Rosy Daniel.
You've just tuned in to Alive and Loving It, and we're here to help you bring joy and energy back to your life. This week, our guest on Alive and Loving It is a very, very dear friend of ours. She's based in Derbyshire. She is a pioneering kinesiologist, energy alchemist, and transformational healer who helps people break free from the invisible patterns holding them back from their fullest potential. Now, she does this through her signature 4 Sacred Keys transformational healing journey, and she guides clients to dissolve deep-rooted ancestral imprints which release their nervous system overload and unlock their soul's highest blueprint. But her work goes beyond emotional and spiritual transformation. It also addresses the physical body, often relieving long-standing symptoms as their system recalibrates at a cellular level. But what you get to hear now in this episode is how Jo unlocked her gift. And it's through a very tender story of her being diagnosed with cancer in 2022 and where she found the courage and the connection and the trust to come through that period of her life with such grace. And it's deeply, deeply touching, this episode. So I hope it inspires and I hope it touches you in your soul. Hello, you've joined us for a wonderful episode today. This is season 2, and we are focusing this week on the spiritual connection principle. And it is my great pleasure to introduce a dear friend of mine. She's not a friend, she's a sister. She's a sister from another mister. We've worked together for many, many years, and I think probably soul-wise, we've known each other forever. So here is my dear friend, Jo Dall, who has very graciously agreed to share her story with us. It's been a fascinating one for a long time, and I've been very privileged to witness a lot of it. But these last few years, has been a huge shift for you, Jo. And thank you so much for agreeing to tell your story with us today. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Thank you very much for that introduction. And yes, we know each other very well, so it's lovely to be here with you both. Thank you.
And we've known each other quite a while too, Jo, because I met you when you and Karen were working together in Weleda, and I joined you as an integrative health consultant. But you also did me the honour of coming on the Health Creation Mentor training and getting deeply involved with health creation. But my goodness, the evolution, as Karen's saying, that's gone on for you recently, I think probably mainly catalyzed by your diagnosis. Shall we start there, with what happened with you health-wise?
Yes, so in 2022, I went for a routine mammogram, as we do, or hopefully we should do. And I got a recall back to have a checkup and had a biopsy and was diagnosed with cancer, breast cancer. So as with everybody who knows what that feels like, it completely floors you.
Yeah. And you told me that, you were absolutely petrified, but you didn't ever feel any blame for anything or anybody, that you started off on your own healing journey, working out what you could do to help yourself.
Yes. I think what it showed me was that there was a reason. And I think with the work that I do, there's generally a reason why. And so I took time to kind of reflect inwardly as to what maybe I had or hadn't done that was a trigger for something like this, the dis-ease. And what I came to the conclusion was it was an enforced pause to deal with something that I hadn't dealt with. And in my mind, I knew that it was losing mum.
So very, very tender stuff, Jo. And obviously, both Karen and I know that you lost your mum from the get-go, didn't you?
Yes, yeah. Yes, she had fast onset dementia. Yeah.
But I'm talking about your birth mum.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
No. Well, goodness me, it's double, isn't it, really, for you?
Yes, because I was adopted from birth. So so I suppose it kind of, it's a second loss of something and someone that obviously was very key in my life.
Yeah. And it is those things, isn't it, that do wake up that grief or trauma or loss, when that gets activated again. So you're saying that you felt this was all about you taking you called it an enforced pause, to process, and tell us about how you did that, and how you managed to get through that, Jo.
So during that time, I was diagnosed in the June, and I was set to have an operation in the August. And so I took that time off. I took time out from the end of July right the way through to the end of September. And I gave myself space and time to really go inwards and connect in. If I use those words, I can explain later, but connect in with meditation and prayer, I suppose. I mean, we can touch on that again in a moment. But it's also having quiet time, because my go-to when anything is wrong is to be busy, to distract myself, to avoid dealing with anything and be busy, either looking after other people or being busy working. And what I really felt inside was that I needed to stop doing that, to let what I'd been avoiding, distracting myself from not doing, and allow whatever needed to raise to the surface to come. And that's what I allowed myself to do.
Yeah, it's so huge, and so wise. Your words, I'm sure, are going to be resonating with everybody listening. We all do that to some extent or another. I mean, people who are a bit more naturally introverted may be better at stepping back and avoiding all of that. But Karen, you're an emotional resilience coach. I bet you see this all the time.
Well, I'm just connecting back to the time, because obviously I worked with Jo through that period. I've worked with her through the busy period, and I'm recognizing that in myself as well, that, oh my goodness, we worked hard. And whenever anything came up, we just did more work. We just worked and worked and worked. I mean, I think all three of us here can say that we're guilty of that. And there's loads of distractions, aren't there? Alcohol, drugs, food. I see that in a lot of my clients, particularly food. Sugar is one of mine at the moment. I reach for the sugar when I need, what do we need to cope? That's what we need to do. We need to cope. And that's what we learned to do. And we all have our vices. But at the time when it's necessary, then what does it take? When is it enough? When do we stop to go, hang on a minute, I'm not coping anymore. I need to heal something here. So witnessing that in Jo at the time, actually, I tell you, my reaction was I was a little bit scared for her, because I have seen Jo work and be really successful in her work. And at that time when she went, no, I'm stopping, that had an impact on me, because it was a change in my friend. So, let's just honor that the people around are affected. But what I witnessed in Jo was like this a different strength. Like, we've been through crises together, and Jo's strength came through and leadership came through. But this was a different type of strength that I didn't understand. So, I mean, have you got a reflection on that now, Jo, how different it was for you?
Yes, I think so, because in all of my life, I've kind of pushed myself, made myself, challenged myself.
Yeah.
I've kind of wanted to be the best version of me, but I have, just forced myself to do things that I felt like I needed to do. And I've been very good at it. Probably too good at it, if I'm honest, because that's probably one of the reasons why I ended up like I did. But I think what I was doing was it was like an external default of making myself do things in order to succeed and to be the best that I could be. But what I noticed in the time that I had off was that I have got a strength within me that is an innate inner strength that can just be.
Yeah.
I can just be. And I don't need to strive, and I don't need to struggle, and I don't need to push my way through to make things work, to make things happen.
Yeah.
That I can just be in this space, and when I'm in that aligned space, the things happen anyway. And it's so much easier.
Well, Jo,
why didn't I realise this hundreds of years ago?
Well, this return to your essence, to your soul, to your spirit. This is what I have heard you say, that you always knew of and had a connection to source, or to spirit with a big S. But that you found yourself into your way into that still center, and you've just used the word alignment. So tell us more about what that means and how that is for you.
So I think in finding that space, that aligned space, it's like everything comes into balance and harmony. And And instead of coming from an external chaotic place, that it comes from a very still place, a place of knowing, of trusting, of believing, and things just magically unfolding with no effort, with no pushing, forcing, struggling, striving. And it's in that moment that really your spirit, your soul, whatever you would like to call it, it takes a breath, it takes a pause, it goes, finally, she's aligned with me. And suddenly everything goes in the right direction. And the things still happen. I would still say I'm a strong person, but I'm not making myself be a strong person. I am a strong person, and it's not taking all my energy to be a strong person anymore. And I think that I can't really articulate anymore how that is, but that I hope that explains to the listener what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, perfect clarity there, Jo. Thank you for that. And I would call it being in flow. You know, you're in flow with life. You're co-creating with life instead of trying to push against it. And it takes less energy, and you are in rest and digest, I guess, Rosa. You know, really from a vagus nerve point of view, you're coming into that state of balance.
Well, yes, I think that's the outcome of it, or one of the outcomes of it. But it seems to me, you know, the Buddhists say to us that the illusion is separation, and that we most of us are living in that state and belief that everything's down to us. You know, we're completely responsible for everything that's going on around us, and we haven't got that connection to source. And what I've heard you say, Jo, is that you've become completely rooted in that connection to your higher self and source energy, that this has created in you huge trust and possibly a feeling that you're not on your own, you know, with this life of yours, maybe for the first time fully.
Yeah.
Does that sound right? Or
yes, yeah, no, it definitely sounds right. The way that I would describe it is normally we go through our life with our friends and our family, and we draw on their strength, and they offer us tremendous strength, don't get me wrong, but there has always been an interest in spirit and a higher self and more than for me. And during the time that I paused, I really gave myself the space to connect even more.
yeah.
Now, you know, how did I connect? Some people would pray, and that's okay. Some people would talk to the universe. I decided not to be picky, so I called on the universe and the angels and the celestial beings and the star people and my spirit guides and helpers and the elements, the directions. I called in everybody, even my ancestors, and just thought, right, I'm going to just go for it here, see who rocks up to help and support me. And I just got that sense of, in the alignment, that I am supported, not on an earthly plane.
And it sounds like you were feeling the love from that level.
Yeah. Is it love? I don't know if I would have named it like that, but you're probably right. But it was an inner knowing, an inner trust, an inner faith that there was more than just me looking out for me.
Beautiful, beautiful. And you, having taken this big pause, things started to change for you, Jo, didn't they? I think your life had changed quite dramatically. What were the things that became clear that you had to change?
So my work-life balance needed to change. My time that I gave myself to connect in to source, to spirit. I knew that I had to have that as a given. It was part of my day. And then what I found through the work that I was doing, that then I connected with people who could guide me and support me to take that level of spirituality to another level. And during this period of time, a dear friend of mine who was also giving me spiritual healing whilst I was going through this, we'd already started to work together. She'd channeled for me a healing journey for my clients, but I'd never really connected with it totally, not fully embodied it. And suddenly it became given that actually the dots joined, and I knew why I'd had that healing journey channeled for me, because I needed it for me. But then I also realized that we as human beings can heal at a much, much deeper level than we ever, ever, ever believed.
Fantastic. So you mentioned there guides and a teacher. Tell us about your teacher, Jo, that's helped you to develop this connection.
So she's a beautiful soul called Julie-Anne Hart, and she has been connecting into spirit and the elders and the grandmothers for many years, and she works with people to channel for them their next level self. So the wisdom she channels is specifically related to what you do and what you are here to do.
I love that. Next level self. That sounds like the name of your next book, Jo. Love it, love it, love it. How amazing. So, and where's this taking you now? You know, you've obviously put in hours of devoted meditation and connection and study. Where's it taking you, Jo?
Who knows, Rosy? That's the one with that one.
She's waiting to find out. She's waiting to hear.
So with the clients that I've worked with kinesiology, sometimes they used to say to me, there's more to heal, there's more to deal with, there's more to address, there's more to release. And with the channeled healing journeys that I have now, it's taking people beyond where they ever thought was possible. So it's not healing the reason. So, you know, clients come to me, as they do with you, with concerns, physical, emotional, spiritual concerns. And what I used to do was heal them, help them, and they'd feel better and they'd go away again. But what I'm finding is that those people know innately that there's something more that needs to be healed. And what is definitely part and parcel of that calling is, I'm going to use big words here, so just bear with me. It's that their soul is calling them to heal at their root. And sometimes that is not just their healing in this lifetime, but the ancestral dysfunction and disease that has landed at their door. So that then makes them know that sometimes they need to heal something bigger than just their stuff.
And do you think, Jo, that, because that to me like sounds this magnitude of healing that maybe we're not conscious of, but our body or our soul is, and that's scary, right? That's huge. Is that what sort of keeps somebody stuck for a while? You know, because it's not like we get this, I need to heal on a different level, and I'm going to trust and I'm going to connect to source. You know, it's not an easy journey, is it? It's sort of like along the path, there's a big stone there that's blocking me. There's a big scary monster in the woods there that's scaring me. And people like pull away from it, don't they? I'm just really conscious of that edge of what is it that finally helps somebody tip into, yes, I'm ready to face this huge thing, or no, not yet, and I pull away. Because people can disappear, they can be ready right at the moment of change, and then you don't see them for another couple of years or something.
So I think the way that I would describe it now, and it's clarity is coming over time, and I'm by no means there, but it's coming slowly. And the clarity is, it's people have got an enough button.
Mm-hmm.
And when they get to the place where the enough button presses, and I don't know if anybody's seen Britain's Got Talent, when the golden buzzer's pressed and the gold
Yes.
comes out and everything else happens, it's like the body presses the enough is enough button. And it's like, I am fed up with doing this way. I'm fed up repeating the patterns. I am fed up with never getting to the root cause of the why. I have had enough. And when they sit on my chair, which is just over there, and they go, I have had enough, I go, right, come on then, let's do it.
You've hit that sweet spot. Yeah.
And if they don't say that they've had enough, they're not ready.
But, one of the things I've noticed, having now worked with people with cancer for 40 years, is that the fear level that's created by the diagnosis implodes the baby fears. So in other words, if we've been living too scared to move because of the bank balance, or because of what the mother-in-law would say, or because of this, or because of that, all those fears are dwarfed. And there's a kind of letting off of the brakes in terms of soul evolution. And people say to me, isn't it depressing, Rosy, working with people with cancer? I say, not a bit. Because, they're so ready to work, because they've had that knock on the soul door, in terms of, okay, what is it all about? What's my life about? What's my being about? What's death about? What do I need to do in this lifetime for my healing? But, going back, Jo, to what you say about ancestral patterns and, Buddhists might call it karmic patterns, familial patterns. We've talked quite a bit in our podcast about the things we carry for other people. One of my beautiful teachers, Judith Hemming, who does family constellation work, helps to make visible what it is in a family constellation that we're carrying for each other. And she describes us as being love drenched as children, because we feel and we pick up the pain and the angst and and that goes on down through the generations. So I think it's not so foreign, this concept, of what's coming down through the family and the ancestors that's there and ready. So how do you describe, because you are clearly telling us that you've moved from your work as a kinesiologist and a mentor and a coach and all those beautiful things into being a healer. Do you have a new way of describing what you do?
So I now call myself a transformational healer, which sounds very big and hard to conceive, I suppose. But basically, it's like weaving everything together, because I think that, when we learn all of these different modalities, these different tools, there's a reason why we have the experience of learning everything, and to bring everything and weave everything together to offer the client the best that you can offer them. It's like, just kind of a mixture of everything that I've experienced. So I still use kinesiology for testing, because I think that kinesiology muscle testing is great for anything. But then what I'm doing is weaving into that the keys, which is the spiritual healing journey, where I channel in the violet flame into my client, and they use that beautiful healing energy to heal the dysfunctional DNA patterning that has passed down the generations. And that can be the dis-ease, but also the addiction, the alcoholism, the OCD behaviours, the patterns that are quite big, and not necessarily appearing in the person who's the client, but when they look back through their parents and grandparents and great-grandparents, they can see the thread, they can see the dysfunction. And also one of the things, sorry, I'm digressing just a little bit, that I think is really important to say to everybody is nobody in our ancestral timeline wanted to pass on these things to us. They didn't go, no, it's your turn. You can deal with all of this stuff now. You know, I'm going to pass it all on to you. You can suffer with it now. It's like it's not a conscious passing on. It just happens that the thread passes down the timeline. But it's beautiful to observe when somebody says, I don't want this anymore. I want to be me. Yeah. I don't want to be what I have been or what may have been passed down. And I don't want it for my future generations, for my children, their children. I want to draw the line here and say, no more, no more.
I couldn't agree more. You know, I call it the big fat no. You call it the enough button. I know people are going to change and heal when they say no, no more. No more abuse, you know, no more booze, no more whatever it might be, no more overwork. When people, and Karen, I've heard you describe it as heart rage, I think. Did you call it heart rage?
Well, I'm interested in the emotion, which is a very powerful energy source that comes through at that point. So speaking from my own experience and what I've seen in Circle is that anger can be one of the first things that comes through. And we've all been taught, particularly as women, that we shouldn't get angry, that it is bad. And maybe we've suffered some trauma at the hands of anger that's become violent. So, you know, stay away from it as much as possible. Joe's been in Circle with me when I have let my anger go. And honestly, I don't know how long that process took for this huge scream to come out of me. It felt like hours, but I was holding on to not letting the anger through because of shame, because of, you know, be a good girl. You don't do that. You don't let this rage through. But there's a difference in the anger. What, you know, when you're talking about this enough energy, it is heart rage. And that term, you know, I got from one of our teachers, Joey Walters, who's written a beautiful poem about it, where it comes through with this force. And it's like it allows this change to happen. It's not, you know, I think some people get really mixed up in the fact that actually, if everything feels all right, then I will change. But change is horrible. It's uncomfortable. It's got anger in there. It's got sadness. That's probably the first emotion that comes through after the anger is this huge sadness, grief in there, everything that we've been pushing down, you know. So when there's places like the spaces that Jo opens up in her beautiful treatment room and in Circle and in retreats and things like that, they are spaces that are being created by many of us to hold this energy that is going to come through at the point of no, enough, change.
I mean, I think there are shades here because the emotional release that can go on in a beautiful held space like your beautiful circles, it's that is definitely really powerful release work and blessed work, and that energy of the kind of enough button that you're talking about is like, you know, when the Spanish say basta, you know, it's clean and it's clear and it's, you know, it's like a line in the sand that that version of me being that way, dancing that dance, you know, being that victim or this, whatever it is, I'm done with that. I am done. And it's it's not necessarily a very emotional place. It's a kind of, you know, I'm done. And Jo, so for you, in this extraordinary healing you've gone through, and are obviously always open to. You've had this healing. How do you feel now, having gone through this transition yourself into this new version of yourself?
So I think that there is an inner peace, an inner alignment, a calm, a trust, a knowing that everything is as it is meant to be. And what I've observed similarly with clients is that when they choose to heal at this level, it's a very peaceful, gentle healing that allows transformation to occur at the cellular level, but in such a gentle way. And it brings, I can't describe it, Rosy, it brings a sense of peace that I don't think I have ever felt before. And I have seen and observed it with clients as well. It's like a coming home to yourself. It's like instead of being a shadow or playing a part or wearing a mask, it's like completely being aligned with who you are. And that makes the world seem a load better than it did before.
Well, it sounds like you're articulating, in the Bible we hear about the peace that passeth all understanding, and the love divine, all loves excelling, and touching into that soul essence where the beauty and the divine is becoming accessible to us, and it is accessible to us. It's just, do we take the time to pause? And I can remember, I don't describe myself as being clair anything, clairaudience, but I do remember after my beloved friend and teacher Pat Pilkington died, at one point I distinctly heard her say, "Still your mind so you can feel my love." So, it's like she was saying, I'm here, but you're so damn busy that you can't feel me. And so, that's what I'm getting from what you're saying. Yeah.
And I think as well, when you come from anything, from an aligned place, from a place of trust, no matter what adversity lands at your door, no matter what it may be that you're surrounded by or with, if you come from an aligned place, then you've got that essence. You used that word earlier, Rosie. You've got the essence and the strength to deal with it in a rational and calm place, rather than a chaotic, panicky, fearful. Don't get me wrong, we're human in our humanness, and fear is something that we all feel at some point, as anger, as other things. But if you come at something from an aligned place, it just brings a groundedness and a connectedness that gives you that centeredness. I'm sorry, I'm using a lot of ness words, but in that place, it doesn't matter necessarily what chaos is going around you. And interestingly enough, there's been a situation occurred recently where I've kind of asked for some guidance and help, and all I keep hearing, and I know you hear too, I'm auditory, is stay in your aligned place, because in that place you are doing the best that you can do in any given situation or circumstances. And then whatever's going on or however people are around you, then that's their stuff. You keep yourself centered and aligned.
Wise words. And Jo, I know that you did another amazing thing in terms of rite of passage to your next level self. Tell us about your very, very big bicycle ride.
So last November, I cycled from Vietnam to Cambodia. Some dear friends of mine said that they were going to do it, and they thought you could do it for charities, and they said, "Oh, we're going to do it for you, Jo." I'm like, "Right, okay, thanks." And they said, "Well, you'll be coming then, will you?" And I went, "Oh." So I told my husband and he laughed, which, wasn't so kind, but very true and honest of him, given the fact I couldn't even change gears at the time. And the next thing I know, my bike is in pieces on the grass in the garden, and he's putting it back together again. And he said, right then, if you're doing this, I'll do the training with you. We better get you booked on. I'm like, okay. So spent most of last year training in the Peak District on the trails, hating everybody who passed me until I realised that they were on electric bikes and not normal cycle bikes. So that was quite an eye-opener. And I did it. Cycled from Vietnam to Cambodia, just over a week, in the heat, which nobody prepared you for, because it wasn't the hills that was the problem, it was the heat. It was phenomenally hot, really hot. But there were an amazing group of 40 people who we did this with together. I went with an amazing group of ladies. We called ourselves SAS. Sorry, I shouldn't say this, but it was the Sore Ass Sisters. And we had a great team, and everybody was so kind. And the sense of achievement, having done that, was incredible. And I think I raised 4,200 and something pounds for breast cancer. Breast cancer now.
Awesome, Jo. Absolutely awesome. And it just is another testament to the fact that the power that you're now embodying, with your connection to source, it strikes me you can do anything now, that you've got literally the forces with you, that spiritual energy. So in terms of a message to anybody listening about how to get onto this path or make that connection for themselves, which I'm sure is resonating very strongly with people, what would you say are people's first steps?
So I think first steps would be to offer yourself some stillness, to maybe try meditation. Sometimes it's really hard to do that quietly because our minds are very busy and noisy. So there's often lots of guided meditations that people can begin to explore. There's huge power in prayer. And I know that you know and believe in that as well, Rosy. There's huge power in prayer. So whether you pray to the universe or to God or to the angels, the fairies, or to the earth, pray to the trees, try exploring the power of prayer, because there is so much more out there than we ever can imagine. And then maybe reach out to somebody who could help and guide you if you feel called to do so. And, reach out if I can help at all in any way.
Beautiful, Jo. Beautiful. So we'll put the connection for you onto the show notes. And I'm sure there will be people who want to touch in with you. And I think that message of remembering to ask Spirit for the help that we need, going back to those of us who become very responsible people, thinking it's all down to us, but just remembering to ask for the help that we need. So, Karen, in terms of hearing your beautiful friend and witnessing Jo in this incredibly beautiful state of transformation, what would you like to say?
Well, I think I say this every episode, that if you're listening to this, go over to the YouTube channel and have a look at Jo, because not only is she through her cancer and clear, but is absolutely a picture of alive and loving it. Gorgeous, beautiful hair, and in your treatment room, which I know you love. And, I remember the point when we were in circle together once where your heart's desire came through to be connected up more. And you just were doing this. I'm like lifting my hands over my head. And so, I'm reflecting on that now, because at the time I thought, I've no idea. What are you talking about? I've no idea. What does that mean? But something very sacred and precious within you was coming through at that moment. So it's such a deep, deep honor to witness that. in somebody else, and to see you from that point of heart's desire through the pain and the fear of a cancer diagnosis, the strength that then came in, the peace that you now have. I mean, when you're speaking about it feels peaceful. I mean, just, I'm going to go back and listen to that part of this episode, because I just went into peace. As I was listening to you, my whole body just was like, this is amazing, this blissful place. I mean, what a wonderful place to work from, to act from. That's really, really important, because that bit you were talking about with, if you're making decisions from fear, from stress, the thing that we are afraid of then comes into being if you're acting from that place. You can manifest great things. You can also manifest really horrible things because of the action that you take. So that's a real key point for me, is that stillness. And I think you call it the power of the pause, and that still place where you can, then you go into rest and digest, your creative mind has space, and all of these options come in. There are always 1,000 possibilities, aren't there? And you choose from a place of calm and peace. It's how I want to live, love. That's how I want to live. I tell you what I had to do to get there was sell my house and move from the town that I lived, because I was in a construct that kept me in the place of the old pattern. I had to leave that first to find it. So I'm traveling all over the country to find it, only to land in Scotland and realize that it's within. It's not. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't have to do that 2-year journey to find it. And you stayed in your treatment room and you went within and you found it. And I honestly, deep respect, my darling friend, my darling sister, so glad to be still walking alongside you, love. Amazing.
Can I say one more thing? I think that this is one of the things that I really took on board when I had my diagnosis. And I would like to share it with anybody who has been given a diagnosis of any kind. Don't treat it as a good thing, and don't treat it as a bad, but treat it as an expansion of your consciousness. Because from that place, magic happens.
Wonderful.
I love your magic. I love your magic. More of Jo's magic.
Well, I'm grinning from ear to ear, Jo. My heart is so happy that my angels are dancing, cheering and whooping, because they want to be asked for help. I do remember to ask my angels or guardians for help. They want to be, the ancestors want to be recognized and brought in to help us. So thank you, Jo, with all my heart, and just total respect, as Karen is saying. Bless your most beautiful heart.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Alive and Loving It. We really hope that today's conversation has sparked your passion and showed you ways to open up into the vibrant life that's possible for you.
Absolutely, Rosy. I mean, we do have to remember that transformation begins with love, and that is self-love, love for others, and love for our beautiful planet. When you embrace love and you just allow yourself to receive as much as you give, you unlock the fullest potential of your life.
That is the truth, Karen. And we're here to support you every step of the way on your journey. So if you enjoyed what you heard today, please join our community and check out our trainings and our services, such as my Dr. Rosy Daniel Clinic and Karen's beautiful women's circles and retreats, and the events where we can all go deeper together. And do please send us your feedback. We want to hear your ideas for the podcast, who you'd like us to interview, and the questions you want us to ask and get answered. Through the contact page on our website, just go to aliveandlovingit.org.
I've really enjoyed reading them. But when you're there, be sure to sign up for our newsletter and updates. And what about following us on Instagram as well? We are at Alive and Loving It Community. Once you've signed up to the newsletter, you'll receive extra notes from today's show and more inspiration to help you live your most vibrant life.
Thank you for being with us.
Keep shining, stay true to yourself, and remember, this is your time to live your fullest, healthiest life.
So until next time, keep doing what you love most in life. I know Rosy and I will be. We're so excited to connect with you on the next episode of Alive and Loving It, and we welcome you with open hearts to our Alive and Loving It community.